hole on television.
Whole network. Time for the Hannity. Time for the Hannity hotline.
Hey, Hannity, what's up with your eyebrows? One's a big clump on the one side and one's a clump on the other side, but they're not even. Don't you have some makeup people over there? Thanks. Get that fixed.
I just wanted to tell Sean Hannity that he can swing his hands and do whatever he wants. He's an excellent show, and we love him.
Oh, I'm just checking. Anyway, sound off. We don't care. Whatever you want to say, 877-225-8587. Don't forget, we're always fair and balanced. We will never be the Destroy Trump media. The great one, Mark Levin, Newt Gingrich, on tomorrow night's show. Let not your heart be troubled. Brian in for Laura. I was watching you this morning. By the way, Laura will be back on Monday.
Of course.
Let me repeat, Laura will be back on Monday. Do you do every show on the network?
No.
You're like on every single show.
It's an honor to be asked to fill in. Your show's doing unbelievable. Your eyebrows look wonderful. I'm sorry I called in earlier and had a different review.
I'm like, what would I do? I don't care what I look like. I'm old and look at my hair. Who cares?
I would say this. I think I speak for all of Fox, and we find you a very attractive man.
Listen, you guys got me up early in the morning not that long ago. That's a tough act because I don't go to bed till, what time do you get up in the morning?
I get up at 2:30.
Okay. I go to bed at 4. So for me to get up to do your show is kind of hard.
Right.
All right, here's the thing. Brian's going to have a great show.
Right.
He does Outnumbered. He does The Five. He does Laura's show.
Right.
He does Fox and Friends. He does 3 hours of radio. It's nonstop kill meat, 24 hours a day.
Do you get paid if you go into this hour? Do you get paid extra money?
No, I just steal Laura's time all the time.
I have to cancel 3 guests now. I'm going to just toss out these guys. Sorry. That's our show for tonight.
A good show. Goodbye.
Thank you, Sean Hannity. Meanwhile, good evening, everyone. As Sean gave away the headline, I'm lucky enough to fill in for the great Laura Ingraham. This is the Ingraham Angle. So let's get started. A number of stories tonight I got to update you on. You got Special Counsel Bob Mueller. He's reportedly not targeting the president as of now in a criminal investigation. So why are so many others in the media just not getting the message? Plus some news no one else is talking about. President Trump just punished dozens of oligarchs close to Putin. So will the detractors take notice and stop saying he's going easy on Russia? Plus, brand new details on a Fox News exclusive. You got EPA Chief Scott Pruitt. He's fighting back against many people in the media and on the left who want to take him down as another Trump official. But did he help himself at all tonight when he sat down with Ed Henry? We're going to bring you the second half of that interview. You haven't seen anywhere else, only on this show. Also, we're receiving word that the president is sending troops at this hour to the border, National Guard troops. They could be arriving maybe as early as tomorrow. We will monitor all those developments as many at the border look around and say, what can we do to stop this influx? But we begin with disturbing new details about the shooting at YouTube's headquarters in California. That happened yesterday, believe it or not, and how it is flipping a couple of narratives on their head. So let's get started. The woman's name is Nasim Najafi Agdam. She's 39 years old. You're seeing her splitting the screen with me right now. She is a woman, and she had her own YouTube channel shot because her YouTube channel was taken down or screened. Well, she shot 3 people at YouTube. And you know what? Authorities were tipped off that she might be doing exactly that. Now, what about the motivation? Could this have been stopped? YouTube is censoring her videos. Is this any reason to take a gun and start shooting people randomly? Fox News correspondent Trace Gallagher is live in our West Coast newsroom at this hour with more details on what the police knew and what they couldn't do. Trace.
Brian, at 1:40 Tuesday morning, almost exactly 11 hours before she opened fire outside of YouTube headquarters, 39-year-old Nasim Agdam spoke with police in Mountain View. That's about 25 miles south of YouTube. Police say they spotted her car in a parking lot and proactively decided to run the plate, revealing that she was from the San Diego area and had been reported missing 3 days earlier. Police say Agdam was asleep when they woke her up to confirm her identity. Then they spoke for 20 minutes. She apparently said she was living out of her car and looking for work. Police say she was calm, cooperative, and never mentioned YouTube. After deciding she was not a threat, they let her go and called her family, and that neither her father nor brother said anything about a grudge with YouTube. But an hour later, the father called police back and mentioned that his daughter was upset with YouTube because they stopped paying for the vegan and fitness videos she posted on her YouTube channel, and that she may have have been in the area because of that. But Mountain View police decided not to share the information with San Bruno police, where YouTube is located. San Bruno police say communication between Bay Area departments is normally very thorough, and they don't want to jump to conclusions. Here's one of the shooter's anti-YouTube rants that she posted online. Watch.
I'm being discriminated and filtered on YouTube, and I'm not the only one. So recently, they also attacked my Persian channel, Nasim Snaps.
Yeah, hours after talking with police, Nasim Magdam went to a shooting range for practice, then walked through the YouTube parking garage into a courtyard with a legally registered handgun and opened fire. Despite reports yesterday saying she was found dead inside the building, YouTube now says, quoting, "Thanks to the security protections in place, she never entered the building itself." Within 2 minutes of our 911 call, San Bruno police arrived on scene. And today, the family of Nasim Magdam expressed concerns that police in Mountain View never passed along the information they had provided. Brian.
Wow, so much more information. And I don't know if this is a situation where you look around and say, could this have been stopped? Let's bring in some experts to talk about that. Mark Furman's with us, former detective with the LAPD, knows as good as anybody how to break this stuff down and if any clues were dropped or balls dropped. John Honorelli's also here, retired FBI special agent and former FBI national spokesperson. Let's start with you, if I can, Mark. Mark, you saw the situation. People like to look back that never worked a case before like you have and said, how could they miss these signs? I actually don't think that's the case here. Do you?
No, I don't. There's many times when somebody does drop the ball, maybe multiple times, but this is not one of them. In fact, I think they went way out of their way when they contacted her at 1:42 in the morning to actually contact her father. 39-year-old females that are obviously in control of their faculties are not missing. She knows where she is. She's driving her vehicle. She knows what she's doing, and she can leave anytime she wants. So I don't believe they did anything wrong.
John, as you see somebody, this is not usually, we don't usually see females, no history of violence. She had her gun legally. She was stopped. She was found sleeping in her car hours before the shooting. Do you see any signs that I would miss because I haven't been trained?
Absolutely not. The police made an inquiry, and just like Mark said, to actually pick up the phone and call the family on somebody who is clearly an adult to reassure them that she's okay. Likewise, if the family had any knowledge, including of the weapon, I have not heard a word about that to yet.
Yeah, a couple of things, Mark. My sense is watching these videos, hearing that she was protesting in February about YouTube taking her stuff down, randomly shooting. I sense the family knows a lot more about how unhinged this shooter was. Do you get that sense?
I do. I think the family knows a lot, and like maybe many families that have problems with somebody inside of their family, they want to keep that close to the vest and maybe not express their fears, and that's exactly the problem. Nobody really knew what her mental state was, and she was obviously not in a good mental state. She tried to commit multiple homicides, and then she killed herself.
John, do you take anything? Do you look into the family a little bit more? You know, after the Pulse shooting, after the San Bernardino shooting, you say, okay, who are they? How did they get here? Who are they related to? And you know, because they are the family, what did come here as refugees. Do you want to see? Do you want to know more about this case? Or do you sense this is just one woman who lost her mind and is now dead?
Regardless of where the family comes from, this is a case where police and law enforcement in general is going to look into everybody who's connected with this person. Violent crimes were committed. We want to know, are there other people that maybe supplied the weapon, knew what her intentions were, or even egged her on? All that has to be determined.
All right, I got to ask you something else, and tap into your security knowledge. You know, at Fox, after 9/11, I used to be able to walk in every door here. Now I cannot get in this building without a pass, even though I've been on television for 20 years. Just the way it works. Here is YouTube, one of the most popular companies in the country and the most successful. Why is this person allowed to penetrate that deep? Where's the security? Did that occur to you at all? Because I'm telling you right now, I don't want anyone to challenge it, but we have layers of security here. So does CNN, so do others. Don't you think people got to wake up a little, Mark?
Well, YouTube certainly had security personnel, but they did not have a way of stopping this person from getting through the garage. The reality is that they need to secure that area for these types of events in the future because it could happen again.
Mark?
You know, sometimes security is just that visible security. It's one layer at the front door, a front desk, a security officer. But then you need multi-layers of security, starting with outside of the parking structure, video surveillance, people outside, people inside the inner workings of the building. So most corporations have kind of a visible security. They do not have deep security.
All right, and lastly, when I look at this woman, and I understand that the family tried to give everybody a heads up, but it was too late. How do you possibly legislate mental health and gun ownership? She had the gun legally. Clearly, she's not mentally stable. She thought that YouTube was personally going after her. There's a paranoia here. Does anyone want to take a shot at that? John?
Well, you can make all the gun laws you want, but the reality is in this country, we're ignoring the mental health issue. In every one of these cases, that's been a common factor, and we need to address that. We need to be able to make those records available when background checks are done so that we can prevent people who are mentally ill from having access to weapons.
And Mark, I don't know if there's a way to stop that unless the family really wants to get aggressive and said, I have a hunch she's never showed violent tendencies before, but I think we got to take the gun away personally. I mean, I actually don't know how you stop this.
Well, Brian, you have hundreds of thousands of people that have tried to commit suicide, that threaten suicide, and one of the ways that makes suicide so devastating is when they want to take multiple people with them and then commit suicide. So we already know, and we have had for decades known through psychiatry and different programs, the people that are suicide prone and have attempted, and we really can't do anything with them. We can't incarcerate them permanently. We've lost that ability. So really there's not a whole lot you can do.
Yeah, where we were looking at the school and where the balls were dropped and where we go from here, I think that this is a narrative buster. Guys, thanks so much. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, let's go a little bit deeper. Nasim Agdam did not fit the profile of a typical mass shooter, and in ways that bust the usual narrative of the pro-gun control crowd. She was a woman. She was a vegan activist, making it hard to blame this one on men or extremist views, unless, of course, you say vegetables are extreme. She also loved animals, yet here is a small sampling of the type of reactions we heard across the cable landscape in the immediate aftermath. Watch.
We have a off-the-charts number and rate of shootings, and it reminds us that we need to do something about gun violence in America.
The battle lines have been drawn. You know, it is still the idea of Democrats pushing largely for gun control measures, while a lot of Republicans largely saying no, and that nothing has really changed.
We want to have stricter gun laws. We want to have background checks. We want to keep guns out of the hands of people who are either a danger to themselves or to someone else.
Had legal guns, passed the background check, no sign of violence. Let's debate this even further with former Secret Service agent and NYPD guy Dan Bongino, and Chris Hahn is also with us, a former aide to Senator Chuck Schumer. Dan, to you, this is a kick in the head, isn't it?
Yeah, Brian, you know, the Democrats who keep calling for gun control can't point to a place where gun control has actually worked. You know, they'll pull this out of their hats sometimes. They'll say, well, what about Australia? Let me tell you something, Brian. There are more guns now in Australia than there were prior to the 1996 gun confiscation. So even when liberals try to cite information that backs up their cause, they inadvertently back up the conservative cause for gun rights. Yes, more guns in Australia, and violent crime may have gone down a little bit. So thanks for making our point.
Chris, if you're right now working for Chuck Schumer again, what advice do you give Chuck Schumer if he has to comment on an issue like this when the NRA really can't be blamed, background checks aren't an issue, and it isn't a male shooter, it's a female shooter?
Well, first, let me correct something Dan just said, or just add to it. There's less gun deaths in Australia now, thanks to the new rules they have in place there. So it does work there. But what I would be advising Chuck Schumer right now is the plan I've given you guys. I've given you guys on this show and on other shows. I believe that we should have private insurance on every gun, and every gun should be registered, because a private company who puts their money on the table is going to make sure that a proper background check is done, and it is done regularly. And if there's changes to somebody's mental health status, that private insurer is going to make sure that that gun is taken away. That's what we need in this country. This gun was registered, which disproves something else the NRA has been saying, that a registered gun is going to mean that every time the police have some suspicion of you, they're going to take it away from you. That now is disproven by this incident.
Yeah, we have some audio hits, so don't adjust your set or bang the side of your flat screen. Don't blame Chris personally. So I'll go to you, Dan, once you straighten that out. So pick up on what Chris said.
Yeah, Chris, I like Chris personally a lot, but he's always wrong, and he's proud to be wrong on the air sometimes. No, I do like him. He's a nice guy, but he's wrong. Chris, your numbers on Australia are wrong. The American Medical Association, not a right-wing organization, did a rather exhaustive study on the effects of the gun ban in Australia and found no evidence whatsoever that it led to a significant decrease in gun deaths. You should have looked that up before you got on the air. And as for your second point about gun registration, you're not serious, I hope, or an insurance policy for your guns. What? So you and the same government that targeted conservatives with the IRS, the same government that spied on the Trump team, the same government that lied about the collection of metadata, you want them to have a gun list so your Looney Tunes liberal friends know exactly where to go when to confiscate the guns later? Chris, I love you, man, but you are absolutely crazy if you think we're going along with that.
Dan, I hope you can hear me now, because I'll throw you a bone.
Can hear you.
Your buddies your buddies in the NRA could sell the insurance, Dan. Put their money where their mouth is.
They don't want
Wayne
that kind of money.
could stop whining. He could stop whining about it. He could say, look, if I think everybody should have a gun, put his money where his mouth is. Insure it. All the stats. By the way, the one good thing about Australia, they keep stats on their guns. They let their health department do that. We haven't let them do that here.
What is your angle with insurance as opposed to just registering a gun?
Private insurers will obviously think about risk differently than we just do with the registration program, because money is involved. They will assess the risk. They will do proper background checks, and they will make sure that people who are a risk do not buy guns unless they're going to spend hundreds of millions of dollars on those insurance policies. So let's see what happens.
No, Brian, the difference in what Chris is not telling you is he wants it to be mandatory. So Chris and his gun-grabbing Looney Tune liberal friends know exactly where to go when they enact their gun confiscation plan. Listen, people insure themselves all the time.
When there's a crime committed.
No, you want to know where to go when to take the guns. Be honest.
I'm just going to just
I don't want to take anybody's gun.
Dan, here's the thing. Let's say you were talking about this a lot with us with the school shooting. So if a friend of yours is at the YouTube and the security's bad and this woman's able to penetrate on the inside, how do we stop that woman from using a gun? Yeah, you're a pro-gun guy, but you also don't want your friend shot. So what do we do?
Yeah, of course. Well, you stop confusing access control with security, Brian. It's not the same thing. I think a lot of these places mistake those two terms, right? A ticket to a football game, Brian, is an access control device, but it's not security. If there's not some kind of tactical countermeasure to back that up, in other words, a trained good guy with a gun to stop these kinds of sick people in society, you're not going to stop these kinds of attacks. They'll get the weapons, whether through the black market, they'll steal them. They will attack when they want. You have to be able to attack back with trained people willing to tactically fire back and stop it.
Well, listen, you guys respect each other, but you don't agree at all. That's what makes it a good show and a great segment.
No, we don't agree.
Chris and Dan, but you're nice people.
I like you too, Dan.
I could see you splitting a beer one of these days, and Dan would probably pay.
We always do.
And Chris would have the second round.
No way.
Thanks, guys. I'm going to have you go now. Thank you. Up next, we'll tell you why many in the media should probably give up on their dream in many respects of President Trump being convicted of colluding with Russia. As of now, it just ain't there.
Sandals and Grill, Jamaica's most sought-after beach resort. Call 1-800-SANDALS.
I used to love going out early in the morning with my watering can and clippers to enjoy my garden. Now things have changed. My angel helps me stay active and continue to do the things I enjoy at home.
I love to bring a smile to her face and know that I'm making a difference when she needs it most.
Visiting Angels, America's choice in home care.
How do you take your selfie liking, Wi-Fi sharing, high-octane gaming, job searching, video chatting, social posting, date finding, urgent emailing, meme sharing, science discovering, life-changing experience and make it even better? Well, just make it faster.
Hospital on Long Island to be recognized as one of America's 100 best hospitals for orthopedic surgery by Health Grades. Awarded 5 stars for total hip and knee replacement surgery. And named among the top 5% in the nation for patient safety 2 years in a row. We're South Nassau Communities Hospital. We're in Oceanside, serving Queens to Suffolk. For more information, visit southnassaw.org/ortho or call 866-32-ORTHO.
All right, even top Democrats admit that so far there's no concrete evidence that the Trump campaign colluded with the Russians in the 2016 election, as of now. But yesterday's revelation that the president is a subject of the special counsel's investigation sent many in the media into a spasm of, I would say, I don't know, glee, euphoria, predicting the imminent demise of this administration.
This confirmation that the president is under criminal investigation, I mean, that's a pretty profound thing.
If someone walked in my office and said I was a subject of a multi-year criminal investigation led by former FBI Director Robert Mueller, I'd wet my pants.
I talked to a veteran Washington lawyer tonight who told me this: for a sitting president to be the subject of an ongoing criminal investigation is frightening.
His conduct is under investigation, and it's no mere criminal investigation. It's the most significant national security investigation in our nation's history.
Really? Cheerleading just a little bit? Well, hold down the cheering, guys. Easy on the champagne. Keep the top on. Special counsel Bob Mueller's memo also said that President Trump is not a criminal target in the investigation. So let's discuss this now with what it will take to have the media drop their Russian obsession with Washington Examiner reporter and Fox News contributor and really smart guy, Byron York. Byron, the word is not a target yet. How did you interpret that?
Well, first of all, it's hard to imagine that Trump wasn't the subject of this investigation. I mean, the White House has been handing over zillions of documents. The special counsel has been interviewing everybody. He has indicted people who were close to the president in the campaign. So it seems hard to imagine that he wasn't a subject of this investigation. But what I think it does say is that Mueller has been investigating since last May, the FBI before that since July of 2016, and with all that investigation, they're saying that they do not have enough evidence to make the president a target of the investigation.
So I want you to hear what Jonathan Turley said, an expert in the law, and says, guys, you got to calm down. This is what he said on Fox today.
In all my years as a federal prosecutor, Chuck, I've never told a defense attorney that his or her client was a subject and had them thank me for the good news. It's not a good thing. You don't want to wake up next morning and be a subject of a federal grand jury investigation.
Okay, I thought I'd give you a special treat with Chuck Rosenberg, who does think it's serious. What Jonathan Turley said, if they waited for a constitutional crisis, there's a few objective signs that it's going to go and come to pass. If anything, the criminal case against the president has weakened over time. But they do say they still want to speak to the president to see his take on what could be obstruction. Should he?
Well, that's the huge debate, and it has divided the president's legal team, past and present, because there are some who believe the president really will not have a reason to say why he should not talk to them. On the other hand, there are others who look at news like this today and think the Mueller team is trying to get the president to relax and think everything will be all right, and then have the interview and then perhaps charge him with making false statements. By the way, that's the main charge that Mueller has been making against people in this case. He charged Michael Flynn with false statements. He charged Rick Gates with false statements. He charged George Papadopoulos, Alex Vanderswan. All have been charged with making false statements in this investigation.
So let's. I want to move forward on this, because in the Washington Post story yesterday, where they talked about a month ago the Trump team getting word that he's not a target, they also said, hey, by the way, in August, Rod Rosenstein was asked by the Mueller group, hey, now that we busted down the door of Paul Manafort and looked at his stuff, we see some problems with what he did in Ukraine with a Russian sympathetic leader, and we'd like to know if we can actually investigate what Manafort did with this Ukrainian leader as it relates to possible Russian payments. And I'm thinking to myself, wait a second, why did Rod Rosenstein green light that? It has nothing to do with meddling in the election, did it?
This really raises a lot of questions. Remember when Mueller was appointed, Rod Rosenstein issued an appointment document. It was very, very general. It said he was given the responsibility of investigating contacts between the Russians and the Trump campaign. That was then. 10 or 12 weeks later, he writes a memo to Mueller explaining what specific authority Mueller has, and you think, why didn't he do that in the beginning? And as you're saying, that was after that no-knock, guns-drawn FBI raid on Paul Manafort. It almost seemed like an ex post facto search for justification for having done that.
And Byron, we're just getting word on this, and we have a rough outline, but the president is hammering the Russians again. He's slamming at least 4 oligarchs with sanctions very close to Vladimir Putin. So their association with Putin is making them pay a financial price. That is something that really hits home with the Russian leader. And the president continues to amp up the pressure. I don't know how this relates to a possible summit at the White House this spring, but look for more details tomorrow morning. Byron York, thanks so much.
Thank you.
All right, coming up straight ahead, an important aspect was largely overlooked yesterday after the details of that secret memo from Deputy Attorney Rod Rosenstein were reported in the media. Rosenstein reportedly authorized a criminal investigation of the former Trump presidential campaign manager, Paul Manafort, a week after the federal agents raided Manafort's house. Someone who did not overlook that is former Whitewater Deputy Independent Counsel Saul Weisenberg. And Saul, I'll get to the oligarchs in a second, but just to expand on what Byron and I were just talking about, does the timing bother you?
No, it doesn't bother me. I think it's understandable. First of all, in the original order from May of 2017, Rod Rosenstein said, among other things, you can look at anything that Comey was already looking at. There's a current investigation. You're allowed to look at anything that Comey was looking at when he testified about the investigation in March. And in August, Rosenstein clarified that Comey's investigation included 2 things about Manafort. Number 1, did he collude with Russians to throw the election in violation of the law? 2, the money he got from the former Ukrainian dictator. So he did not do it after the fact, as some people are saying. He clarified in August, a week after the Manafort raid. Now, the question is, a good question from Byron, why didn't he do that? Why didn't he issue the clarification back in May when he did the original order? And I do think they were worried. Probably Mueller was worried, and maybe Mueller went to Rod and said, look, we wanted you to make it clear in writing what our authority is. We think this is our authority. We want you to make it clear. That's what I would guess happened. But it wasn't an after-the-fact authorization.
Well, I mean, he needed a clarification. That's clear.
He wanted it in writing. That's right.
Why?
That's absolutely right.
But why?
But I mean, I
Was
take
he
him at
getting
his
worried?
word. I don't think.
So you say it's black and white, but he clearly didn't think it was black and white. He had to go back and get reauthorization. And to tell you the truth, you're the expert and you've been through this. But as the layman on the outside, my hope is to get to the bottom of the Russian meddling. What does it have to do with Paul Manafort's days in the Ukraine? I don't care what he was doing.
Oh, I don't think it has anything directly to do with it, and it may not have anything indirectly to do with it. Remember also that Mueller has the authority to look at anything that he discovers or arises during the investigation if he gets authorization. But here's the key thing that people are overlooking, I think, is that Comey is the person that was already looking at this. If we believe, and I don't think Rod Rosenstein's going to lie, if we believe his August 2nd letter, Comey was already looking at this, and that's the question you need to ask. Jim Comey, you're being very aggressive back here in looking at an old investigation involving money from a Ukrainian dictator. Boy, you're sure aggressive in this investigation. Why weren't you so aggressive in the email investigation? But let me make something clear.
Yeah.
If Mueller had gone to Rosenstein and said, you know what, I don't know if I have the authority to look at Manafort, Rosenstein would have been completely within his rights to say, I give you permission to go do that. That's not what Rosenstein is saying has happened. What I think happened is Mueller anticipated the very motion that he ultimately got, a motion to dismiss based on a faulty appointment order from Rod Rosenstein. And I think anticipating that, he said, you know what, Mr. Rosenstein, just make it clear for me. We understand that this is already within our purview, but could you put it in writing so that there's no question? And, of course, Mueller used it in his response to Manafort's motion.
Sal, here's what I worry about. Here's what I worry about. I want to know about this president, the candidate who became president. If you want to know about meddling or collusion, let's hear it. But if you don't like the way he bought his Scottish golf course or his New Jersey casino, and they start going off on that, I think you got some real problems in this country from supporters and detractors.
I think you're totally right. On the other hand, let's just say that something was discovered that's a little closer. Let's say relationships with the Russians that we didn't know about, serious relations related to money laundering. Not saying it happened. That might be something that people say, well, you know what? If Mueller discovers something that serious, maybe somebody should look at it. But listen, I totally agree with you, and I agree with Byron about something very important.
Real quick.
It doesn't look like they have it. It doesn't look like they have anything on President Trump. I don't think there's going to be an obstruction indictment, and I don't think there's going to be a criminal collusion indictment. And by the way, I don't believe I would ever advise any client in President Trump's position to go in for that interview. If you're a subject, you're still in very serious danger.
All right. Maybe he's listening. Saul Weisenberg, thanks so much. Appreciate your expertise, especially at a time like this where everything's so much in secret and innuendo and secret sources. Meanwhile, 29 minutes before the top of the hour, straight ahead, President Trump's EPA Administrator Scott Pruitt says many Democrats are trying to take him out because of how well he is pushing the president's policies when it comes to environmental issues. Up next, we're going to show you exclusive clips of Ed Henry's interview with the embattled cabinet member that you have not seen anywhere else. That's the back of Ed's head.
He's got the blues. Who would ever want to be in their shoes? Ooh, He's got the blues. BC Maddox, the only one to choose. We are IT, protecting the network, playing the corporate game. Now we're infected with ransomware, and the boss wants someone to blame. Ooh, IT's got the blues. Who would ever want to be in their shoes? Ooh, IT's got the blues. BC Maddox, the only one to choose.
Maxi Climber. The full-body workout machine that combines a fat-blasting, calorie-burning cardio workout with intense muscle toning moves to deliver the lean, sculpted body you want. Maxi Climb your way to lean, sexy legs, rock hard abs, and toned triceps and biceps. The easy and effective full body workout is Maxi Climber. Get yours today.
Glad you're up. Hope you're dressed. The latest Trump administration member targeted by the left and the mainstream media is EPA Chief Administrator Scott Pruitt. But he is fighting back big time, and it's all over pay raises for aides under a little-known provision in the Safe Drinking Water Act. I know it sounds bizarre, right? As well as a $50 a day condo rental from the wife of a lobbyist. Is this a big deal? Fox News Chief National Correspondent Ed Henry got the exclusive interview with Pruitt this afternoon, and we got a lot of it. This is explosive, it's intense, and we haven't seen it all yet, right, Ed?
That's right, Brian. We've got some new clips we want to show you right now. Look, just breaking the last few moments, CNN is saying that an ethics watchdog at the EPA is now revising the guidance they gave on whether or not it was appropriate for the EPA administrator to move forward with that, as you say, that arrangement of $50 a night at the renting an apartment at the wife of a lobbyist's apartment. That has raised questions. The pay raise issue is intense as well because one staffer was going to get a pay raise of over $50,000 a year, not their salary, but the pay raise. The White House had said this is not a smart use of taxpayer money. Allegedly, Scott Pruitt and some of his aides went ahead anyway, went around the president, something Pruitt pushed back on me today. And you're right, the left has been going after Pruitt. They have a website, bootpruitt.com. They're saying they don't like his policies. Pruitt says the left is trying to take him out. The problem for him, though, is the White House is mad at him now because he has been giving the left fodder by spending a lot of money, first-class travel, private jets, and expensive trips. Watch.
Didn't President Trump say he's going to drain the swamp?
And well, let me ask you this: is $1 billion in savings draining the swamp in regulation?
If you
as you look across the administration, $8 billion in costs and deregulation. Absolutely.
You've saved a lot of money. You also spent a lot of money. You went to Morocco with 7 staffers?
As part of it, do you know that we had career EPA officials there a week before?
So why did you go to Morocco? How much did that cost?
Because there was a memorandum of understanding that we've had with Morocco for years on air quality. You know what's interesting about these criticisms about international?
Well, how much you're not answering. How much did it cost,
I will answer it. I think both trips total were a little bit over $100,000.
Okay.
I think when the previous administrators went to Rome, they spent roughly $40,000 or $50,000, and we were in that range.
Okay, and so in terms of draining the swamp, do you think if an Obama cabinet official rented an apartment here in Washington from the wife of a Washington lobbyist, you don't think Donald Trump and
what
Scott
I think
Pruitt
about
would
it?
say it was a disaster?
You know what I think about it, Ed? They weren't even looking at those issues back then.
Well, there
are members of Congress that have for years rented rooms on Capitol Hill.
Right.
The C Street area.
So it's a swamp. You've said it's a swamp, Donald Trump.
No,
but you're not changing it then. You're doing the same thing they did, you're saying.
Ed.
If they did it, it's okay for you.
No, I didn't say that. I'm
You
not
just
saying that at all.
said congressmen have been doing it. You said if the Obama people did it, the media wouldn't cover it. So if it happened before, why aren't you changing?
So Ed, here's the point I'm trying to make. You asked me whether there'd been criticism, would have been criticism with respect to previous cabinet officials and Obama. The fact of the matter is nobody's even asking the questions back then. Here's why they weren't. Because they weren't getting things done like this administration. I do believe that as we do our work, Ed, as we're focused on these types of things, they are transformational. And anytime that you do transformational things, there are critics and there are people that come against you in that regard. Because this place has been, look, it's been a place for years that has been used by the left, the environmental left, to advance an agenda of picking winners and losers in the marketplace.
Sure, but you're saying you're in trouble because the left is coming after you?
I didn't say that I was in trouble. I said that they're big critics.
So is he in trouble or not? Interesting that when previous cabinet chiefs have been in trouble and Sarah Sanders was asked at the podium about them, she said oftentimes the president still has confidence in them. Today, she did not say that when asked about Scott Pruitt. Instead, she said the president is concerned. The president is digging for information about these trips, about the pay raises and all of that. And Sarah Sanders said, in her words, they're doing a deep dive. And when they have more information, they'll have an evaluation. Brian?
Wow, great interview. Man, were you prepared, and you definitely laid the groundwork there. At least he got a chance to give his side of the story. So we'll see if it's going to save his job. Ed Henry,
Good job
always
tonight,
great.
Brian.
Thanks, man. Meanwhile, let's bring in two people to weigh in because they've been through this before with many other different people on both sides of the aisle with many administrations. Rich Goodstein's here, former advisor to Bill and Hillary Clinton, and Molly Hemingway, senior editor of The Federalist, and knows a lot about a lot of stuff. Molly, we've seen a lot of people go at this administration, but my sense is Scott Pruitt was doing the job the president wanted him to do, was very effective, and he's been tripping himself up. Has he tripped himself right out of a job, or can he survive?
Well, after Donald Trump, there is nobody in this administration who has as big of a target on his back as Scott Pruitt. And the reason why is he's an incredibly effective administrator. You have all these problems of the swamp, of the administrative state, waste and inefficiency and overregulation. And Scott Pruitt is a very effective person at his agency. He's rolled back regulations that were overheated. He has worked to improve the environment, whether it's in Flint or with clean water and whatnot, but also understanding that there's a balance between regulation and jobs. Nobody has been under as much attack as Scott Pruitt. And last week, there was an organized campaign started by radical environmental groups to really oust him, really get him out. And they did this cascade of stories. And I think that if there was substance to these stories, if they really mattered, if there was anything really going on, that he might be in trouble. These are not things serious people are talking about. People don't actually care that he rented a room for $50 a night. They care that he's an effective administrator, and they think this is their way, that they're going to get rid of him. But he's been so key to the Trump agenda. I don't think that Trump would see it in his best interest to kowtow to the left and to the fringe environmentalist groups to oust someone who's been so key to his administration.
And Rich, not only is your point, and thank you, Molly, not only is your point valuable, but you also know the EPA. You were a liaison there. So tell me, is this stuff a big deal, or is this a lot of soap opera stuff getting in the way of a guy doing a tough job?
Well, again, it's not just Democrats and the liberal left who are on his back. We've got Chris Christie saying, I don't know how he survives this. We've got Republican House members now calling for his ouster. We've seen this before, Brian. In the Reagan administration, the same kind of talk early on about deregulating and getting government off its back. And you had Ann Gorsuch, you know the name because her son was a Supreme Court justice now, Burford, who basically lost the confidence of the public, lost the confidence of Congress, and had to be replaced by Bill Ruckelshaus, who I did work for, who had a totally different policy, which was kind of what he called a fishbowl policy, which is everything was transparent, bring in the press, put my schedule out there so everybody knows who I'm meeting with. That's exactly the opposite of what Scott Pruitt's doing. And there's a level, I hate to say it, of paranoia between wanting to go first class so he doesn't deal with kind of the common person in coach, you know, having this soundproof booth for $43,000.
That issue is
$43,000 for a soundproof booth. Nobody's ever heard of that in Washington, but somehow or other he feels the need to separate himself to do that.
So the issue with security for travel is that he was facing death threats from, again, radical leftist groups had done death threats. So there is an understandable
reason. They could buy a first-class ticket too.
And that's exactly actually what. But the idea that you would care about security, particularly in a year when radical leftists have actually shot up Republican leaders, it's not an unreasonable thing for a security team to care about that. So I think, you know, again, this is really just about Scott Pruitt being really good at his job.
A couple of things, I think, to get to the reality. Will he survive this? Was it right? Would he do it again? Probably not, and probably wasn't. I'm just wondering this. Did anyone in the Obama administration over 8 years ever buy furniture that was a little expensive, or did they get it all at IKEA? Did anyone in the Obama years ever go in first class, or were they always in coach, knee to knee, with the reclining seat?
In point of fact, actually, that was something that was false. There was something false that was said just a few minutes ago, and which is that this is somehow much more travel and security costs than the Obama administration. That's actually not true. For either of the EPA administrators under Obama, they spent exactly the same or more on their same levels of foreign travel.
I can attest. Once I was on a flight with Carol Browner when she was the administrator of EPA under Bill Clinton. I actually had the ability to upgrade her to first class. I was in some frequent flyer thing, and she refused because of the optics. I mean, it wouldn't have cost the government a dime, but she refused on principle because there was an image that she just wanted to purvey. And I think that's the thing that Scott Pruitt hasn't quite come to grips with.
Listen, I think they've made some mistakes, and they've hurt the president where they didn't have to. They got the policies right, and he's not the only one, but they've got the semantics wrong. Jonathan Swan of the Axios, who I have a lot of respect for, says essentially the word is in the White House. If there's nothing else there, he probably survives this. We'll see if he helped himself tonight. Molly and Mr. Goodstein, thanks so much.
Thank you, Brian.
Thank you.
All right, coming up straight ahead, President Trump just signed a proclamation directing American troops, National Guardsmen, to be deployed on the U.S.-Mexican border. And the first wave could be arriving as early as tonight. Details next.
As a control enthusiast, I'm all business when I travel. Even when I travel for leisure. So I go national, where I can choose any available upgrade in the aisle without starting any conversations or paying any F charges. But what can I say? Control suits me. Go national. Go like a pro.
For the ultimate protection for your vehicle's floor, you need WeatherTech floor liners. Get complete coverage of your floor, including the front, middle, back, and even up the sides. And our cargo liners are also laser measured for a perfect fit. Nothing protects like WeatherTech. Order yours today at WeatherTech.com. WeatherTech. Complete protection, completely American-made.
Did you know that a dirty CPAP system can make you sick? If you knew what could be growing in your mask and hose, it would keep you up at night. Now SoClean.com has released the world's first and only automated hands-free CPAP cleaner and sanitizer. With its patented design, SoClean is fast, effective, and hands-free, killing 99.9% of all CPAP germs. Try SoClean now through this special TV offer free for 30 days. Just call 800-650-4157.
My health has improved. It's simple to use, and I'm not worried about infections.
SoClean works on all CPAP machines and popular masks, destroying CPAP bacteria, viruses, and germs without the daily hassle of washing your system by hand. Just place your mask in, close the lid, and in just minutes, voila! Sanitized and ready to use. Try SoClean risk-free for 30 days. This is a limited time offer. Call now, 800-650-4157, or visit SoClean.com today.
All right, here we go. President Trump tonight signed a proclamation deploying the National Guard to the border with Mexico to stem the flow of illegal immigration. Not that big of a deal, considering the last two presidents did the same thing. Homeland Security Secretary Kirstjen Nielsen today explained why the move is essential until Congress approves funding for the border wall. Listen.
The threat is real. We continue to see unacceptable levels of illegal drugs, dangerous gang activity, transnational criminal organizations, and illegal immigration flow across our border. The President has directed that the Department of Defense and the Department of Homeland Security work together with our governors to deploy the National Guard to our southwest border to assist the Border Patrol. The President will be signing a proclamation to that effect today.
Fast moving, with Congress not even in session. The president's determined, especially because of that big caravan that's coming our direction that's in Mexico at a soccer stadium right now, 1,500 looking for refugee status, perhaps. Joining us now to talk that, to react, is former DNC Deputy Press Secretary Jose Astramuno and Lawrence Jones, who's editor-in-chief of Campus Reform. Jose, let's go by you. Do you think this is a good move for both countries?
Look, former presidents have done this before. Barack Obama did it. George W. Bush did it as well. The fact of the matter is that any directive by the federal government for the National Guard to go to the border, they can't really do much. They can't arrest people. So it's truly a waste of money. It's not going to do anything. If we want to really find a solution to this problem, we got to pass comprehensive immigration reform.
Well, you had 1,000 people a day trying to cross, 300,000 a year violating our sovereignty by trying to get across. That's a lot, but it's actually down, Lawrence, from the previous year of 2017, down from 2016. Necessary in your mind?
Yeah, it's very necessary, because we got to realize that these troops aren't just going there to arrest people. They legally can't. But what we need is their technology. We need them to be able to relieve some of our border agents who actually support this. If you listen to any of the members that represent the union of these border agents, they say that they need the help on the border. They're going to be able to relieve these agents, to give them the technology and resources they need that doesn't necessarily have to do with touching illegals.
Jose, I had a chance to go down to the border, and the word is when President Trump took over, there was immediate drop-off of people trying to get across because they're very in touch with what's going on in our country, and they hear about the president trying to reinforce the border. When it became clear that Congress wasn't going to act, the numbers picked up again. causing almost a crisis point. So I went through the Border Patrol meetings, and I listened to what they were saying and urging Washington to act. And that was over in Texas. Here's Patrick Healy, though, who thinks this whole thing is a manufactured crisis. He's with the New York Times.
It's a manufactured crisis, what's going on at the border. He is sort of knowingly manufacturing a crisis just to create a big political message to solve his problem with Fox News and that Republican base who are so upset that he got nothing, practically nothing on the border wall.
Funny, 300,000 people crossing illegally a year, minimum, and the problem is Fox News?
Look, I don't know if the problem is Fox News or not. I don't really. Look, it is a crisis, and we got to fix it. Democrats have been on the table since day one. Let's take it back to 2013 when the Senate passed a comprehensive immigration bill, and it was the GOP, the Republicans, who said no. So I invite invite my Republican friends to actually get something done and pass comprehensive immigration reform.
The Democrats should be on board with the president granting 1.8 million
That's not enough,
aliens citizenship.
That's
the
different.
president proposed it. He compromised against his base that was totally against the president offering amnesty.
He took away DACA. He took away DACA. Now he wants to use it.
He's changed his rhetoric from being just a border wall to a border wall system. So the Democrats need to come to the table.
No, look, give me a break, Lawrence. Look, the reality here is that it was the president who took away DACA. Now he wants to give it back.
And you guys shut down the government over illegal aliens, and somehow y'all think y'all can win the next election.
Just to get into the whole legislative part of it, what happened is Mike Rounds had a bill that got 54 votes in the Senate, probably wouldn't have passed the House if the president didn't back it, because it didn't stop the lottery and it didn't stop chain migration. But he was going to say 1.8 million for 25 billion for the border wall, but the president wasn't going to give in on those two issues. Lawrence?
That's exactly right, and the president shouldn't give in on that. This is a president that won his election first coming down the escalator talking about immigration and the issue of supporting our border agents. And at the end of the day, this president has a duty. This is a national security issue. Democrats can choose to get on board, or they can run the next election on shutting down the government. I don't think that's one that the American people is going to accept.
They asked the Border Patrol agency, do you need a wall, you need a barrier? 89% said absolutely. And by the way, this isn't about crossing illegally. It's the ones who are crossing illegally and compared to the people waiting in line, doing the green card thing, hoping to get access. I think there's right and wrong. Thanks so much, guys. Appreciate the debate. I wish we'd get something done in Washington so we could stop debating the same thing over and over again, but that's what's happening. Meanwhile, let's change gears. Did you know that Christian privilege is now a thing? They're even teaching students how to fight it. And at George Washington University, they are saying that we're going to offer a seminar, 90 minutes. You can learn about it all. Back in a second.
If you use denture paste instead of Seabond seals, your dentures may not hold as strong all day. Only Seabond has gradual release technology. It holds 75% stronger all day versus the leading pastes without the ooze. Seabond, stronger hold all day.
Online dating? I know people meet that way, but where would I even begin?
Open laptop, go to OurTime.com, look for free. It's easy to take a look on Our Time, the fastest growing dating site for people over 50.
Okay, listen up. This is big. Don't miss spring break at Six Flags with big thrills like Batman and Kingda Ka, the Big Daddy. Want a big deal? Save up to 55% on a 2-pack of passes. Go big. Go Six Flags.
At Kia, we're bringing meaning back to value with America's best value. Value with a 10-year, 100,000-mile warranty. Value from the brand ranked highest in initial quality 2 years in a row by J.D. Power. Kia, America's best value. Right now, get great offers like a lease on the 2018 Sorento LX for only $179 a month. Visit your local Kia dealer or KiaDealers.com today.
Save $2,000 on his brand new baby with help from AAA. Great financing and insurance the AAA way. Our mobile battery service came to their rescue fast. AAA approved auto repair shop saved him hassles and cash. And a very cool app saves her money on gas. Different owners, different journeys, but they all belong to the same generation. Be part of the savings generation. Join AAA today.
Want more SUV for your money? Check out Hyundai.
a family of distinct SUVs from the brand named lowest 5-year cost to own. And with 7 2018 IIHS top safety picks, all thanks to an assortment of advanced safety features. And all of them are backed by America's best warranty. Hyundai SUVs, a great deal more than just a great deal. Right now, come in and get the first ever Kona for an APR as low as 1.9%. Hurry, offers end April 30th.
Hey, New York, need a break? Don't miss spring break at Six Flags. Right now, save up to 55% on a 2-pack of passes with free Hurricane Harbor passes and a free parking pass. Now that's a big deal. Go big. Go Six Flags.
All right, in his farewell address, President George Washington, our first president, emphasized the importance of religion and morality in the survival of the republic. That's us. Now imagine you attend George Washington University in Washington, D.C., and you're holding a seminar now and attending one that's called Christian Privilege in America. Privilege. Well, student Abigail Marone of the class of 2019 isn't holding her tongue. She's upset about it, wants to share her experience. They're actually offering this, how to identify it and deal with Christian privilege in America. Abigail, what's your thoughts on this?
Yeah, so the Multicultural Student Services Center has held a lot of trainings throughout the year. They are holding one on reproductive justice. They've held one on white privilege, male privilege. But this one I found particularly shocking because it is a university-endorsed seminar held by a diversity professional, not a student faith leader, trying to tell Christians how to live out their relationship with God.
Yeah, very interesting. Christian privilege. Did you tell that to the Coptic Christians in Syria when they were beheaded? Christian privilege, as they were just kicked out of Iraq in mass or killed. Well, Christian privilege in Libya and Nigeria. Where does the Christian privilege come from, and why do they need a course to identify it? What's the objective?
You know, that is what is so shocking to me, is that George Washington University prides itself in preparing their students for the global community. Yet with this seminar, they are demonstrating a complete lack of understanding for Christianity in the global community. They're not taking into account the Christians today in modern times who are beheaded or persecuted for exercising their faith. And they're certainly demonstrating a lack of understanding for what it's like to be a Christian, even in America or on college campuses.
So I guess they want to work a strategy to combat this Christian privilege that we're all wallowing in. They also offer a course in able-bodied privilege. How dare the able-bodied act so cocky?
Well, the problem with these diversity trainings is that they are not meant to foster an open dialogue. If you attend the diversity trainings and you have a different view than any other person teaching the sessions, you're demonized or shamed. And that's the problem with the trainings.
Do you expect backlash from your appearance tonight?
I wouldn't be surprised.
For $76,000, you should be allowed to say whatever you want. It's one of the most expensive schools in the country, also very prestigious, but I find this disturbing. Abigail, thanks for having the courage to stand up, and good luck when you graduate in 2019.
Thank you for having me on.
All right, meanwhile, coming up straight ahead as we wrap up this hour, there's one thing you have to turn your TV on for this weekend, and no, it's not Tiger Woods at the Masters. He's probably going to win. The details to my dazzling tease in just a moment.
I buy the same old yellow box for hemorrhoids. Recticare Complete Hemorrhoid Care System has 2 effective medications. The strongest OTC concentration of lidocaine to relieve pain and itch, plus phenylephrine HCl to reduce swelling. Get more complete hemorrhoid relief with Recticare Complete.
Looks like you're not sleeping well.
How did you know? Hey, Megan!
Hey, you're that guy.
The My Pillow guy.
That's right, and I'm here to help you get the best sleep of your lives. Just like all of you out there, I had problems sleeping. I had tried every pillow out there and none of them worked. That's why I invented My Pillow. My patented fill adjusts to your exact individual needs and helps keep your neck aligned. My Pillow will hold its shape all night long, regardless of your sleep position, for the best sleep of your life.
Call or go to mypillow.com. Use the promo code and save over 50% with Mike's 4-pack. You'll get 2 MyPillow premiums and 2 Go Anywhere pillows. It's one of his best offers ever.
You're sleeping better.
Much better.
And you're looking good.
Feeling good.
I knew you would.
For the best night's sleep in the whole wide world, visit mypillow.com.
I've been caring for people my whole adult life. I
couldn't think of doing anything else. Since I joined the Visiting Angels team, I've found a compassionate group of professionals that have become more like a family than just an employer. I love the opportunity to care for my seniors, and the Visiting Angels team gives us support that both families and caregivers rely on.
Visiting Angels, America's choice in home care.
Why buy the same old yellow box for hemorrhoids? Recticare Complete Hemorrhoid Care System has 2 effective medications. The strongest OTC concentration of lidocaine to relieve pain and itch, plus phenylephrine HCl to reduce swelling. Get more complete hemorrhoid relief with Recticare Complete.
You know, if my watch is right, it's almost the end of the show, which means it's time for a little shameless self-promotion, which also promotes something great on Fox, an unbelievable series I've had the privilege to be a part of. Be sure to catch the latest episode, the 3rd installment of Legends and Lies, The Civil War. It's hosted by me, and it features the fascinating story this week of Confederate General Robert E. Lee, so much in the news as of late, and his command of the Army of Northern Virginia. Here's a sneak peek.
The Army of Northern Virginia have saved our state and our Confederacy from destruction. Soon, we will achieve our independence.
Spoiler alert, it doesn't work out. I'll put all my money on the North. Meanwhile, the episode airs Sunday at 8 o'clock. An important lesson, a very well done movie series that has been put together. I've had a great time filling in for Laura Ingraham, and that's tonight. Katie Pavlich will be here tomorrow night, and I'll be up bright and early on Fox and Friends. Be sure to join me from 6 to 9 with Steve and Ainsley. Plus, I want you to listen to my radio show, The Brian Kilmeade Show, from 9 to noon, briankilmeadshow.com if you're not in our family of affiliates. Amongst our guests tomorrow are going to be Governor Mike Huckabee, Chris Wallace, and Jeff Benedict, who did that incredible book on Tiger Woods. According to the rundown, the schedule I saw Shannon Bream is live in her studio in Washington, D.C., which is a palace. It is a beautiful place.
I should turn off